Togbe also Invest School of Management to honor the memory of his mother. I want to conclude by saying that to a man whose legacy is deeply impactful, to a man who has made desolate lands fruitful, Togbe stands as a testament to leadership with purpose, a guardian of tradition, and a champion of progress. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency, it's my great honor to welcome you very much.
See the region. And Mama, distinguished invited guests and our friends from the media, to His Excellency for the second time in a matter of weeks. I welcome all of you. You're in a big hurry, and we thank you sincerely. I want to commend you once again for the speed. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are here this afternoon to launch our national chairman for the occasion, and I thank the organizers for choosing me. I want to commend our honourable minister for as Minister of Education, but he has proven. And I am very impressed that so early he has been able to put this very important program together. Dancing. We have been celebrating the 7th or the independence is not an end in itself, unless it comes with what people desire, which is development is what people desire, to fight for freedom out of colonialism. And we had high hopes, given that we had very enterprising men and women, and also we had abundant natural resources, more than our fair share of what the world has. Unfortunately, we have not done as well as we had expected, and it's been attributed to many causes. Among that, education is a way out for us, a way out of poverty. Indeed, the most important factor in the production of goods and services and the growth of an economy is labor or human capital. Solving abilities determine the performance and productivity levels that we achieve. According to productivity, it is usually mentioned as one of the reasons why our country is lagging behind our Asian counterparts. The usual suspects, Malaysia, Festo, and indeed development for our people. I'm happy that in order to make it accessible, affordable, and also enhance its quality so that it can prepare our people for the task ahead of assassination in the 21st century. The government, which is why we are gathered here. The relevant education for our purposes is one that will equip our people with the attitudes, the skills the nation is in dire need of, as opposed to custodians of the status quo. We want but of course, education by its very nature requires constant reform because it has to respond to the needs of the environment. Our education, and in today's behind, hence the need to revisit it took it around and make sure that that drive impact on our needs and therefore determine how relevant our educational system is. And some of the change in our educational system are worth noting. The first one is globalization. We all know that globalization, various actors to collaborate and therefore reach advancements. Educational sector, we have seen digital platforming and teaching, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education to prepare our people for the technological future of the 21st century. Demographic, which mean that include Europeans, Americans, Africans, Asians, and etc. So that also requires that we keep modernizing or changing our education to adapt to the needs of our society. Of course, globalization means that we have in today's working to be able to adapt to the changing needs. And it is important that any reform keeps this in mind so we can create people who are versed of the. It's also very important respond to. Notably, in our case, we have had a recent major change that has introduced the free high school system. And of course, we know it came with its various challenges, mainly because there was so little preparation done before its introduction, which leads me to look at it sometimes as a sub to Cerberus. I know that you understand that, you know. In Greek mythology, dog to prevent the dead from living. So when you want to leave the gates, you have to give something to Cerberus, like a little bribe. Sometimes looks to me like a soap. And so the need for a lot of reform. So I appreciate so much the world is undergoing changes. That means, therefore, that will make them relevant. What it means is that there is only one constant in the world, which is what? Change itself. It means, therefore, that we must not only equip them with the specific skills and knowledge, but more importantly, the values that will enable them to adapt to change. Most notably, the capacity for critical thought. We need an education system that liberates the minds of our people and make it possible for them to appreciate change and create the necessary responses to change. Tomorrow, or the world, the future, belongs to thinkers, critical thought, those who can think, as opposed to, as I said earlier, custodians of the status quo. We have to teach, be creative. We have to build, do is which we're going to create. Which we're going to create. So I like the honorable into our curriculum. We need to equip our people. We need to equip our people with the relevant social values. With the relevant social values. Social world that is bringing different people together. That's very important. Bringing different people together. That's very important. Tolerance. One of the biggest challenges in our country is corruption, fueled by greed. Fueled by greed. And I'm happy that His Excellency has taken a leakage from the economy, as corruption has demonstrated its ability to do recently. Instilling our people that value of that willingness to accept responsibility, sense of gratitude that is very accept responsibility, sense of gratitude that is very important. And again, that's why I like the idea of ethics and those patriotic things that our minister is trying to introduce. To make tent around to meet our changing needs. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, ultimately, we all share a responsibility of ensuring that our education system helps us to realize our development aspirations. Initiative, I want to thank the Honorable Minister of Education for getting it started. I pray that the good Lord guides us on this journey so we can, at the end of the day.
Honorable Regional, very big opening address by our chairperson, including the fact that we have to build an educational system that grows critical thinkers. Shall we do one more big round of applause for our chairperson for today? Savok. Your Excellency, good people of Ghana, our three people will be handling sign at this big milestone, the form for the Ministry of Education GTV. And now at this time, it's in ensuring that all the critical minds come together to plan critically for the future of our nation in education. He previously served as minority leader in the Parliament of Ghana and now has been given the big task and the responsibility of leading the Education Ministry. Your Excellency, good.
Republic of Ghana, Chairman, chair this auspicious occasion of looking into Ghana's education and its future. The Honorable Regional Minister for the Volta region, the chairman and members of the National Education Forum Planning Committee, our development partners, and in particular the British High Commission, which has also generously supported this initiative. Conference, the Ahmadiyya mission is a very simple one to welcome you, Honorable Sir Tekpe, President of Education, to the Ghanaian people, keeping faith with the Ghanaians. So I describe him as the legacy president. Citizens of Ghana can learn at least to honor their words with the electorate. So today's National Education Forum rely on your expert professional advice. He doesn't seem to say that he has the answers. So today's forum is for Excellency John Dramani Mahama to hear from you, the experts and the professionals. Where are we on the state of education in Ghana? Free, compulsory, universal basic education. High school structure. When are we even for our tertiary institutions education? Present higher education by beneficiaries of free senior high school. How do you want him to work as president and provide leadership? I should acknowledge the Director General of the GES, acknowledge the Director General. So, to say a warm welcome to you, and I look forward to a very purposeful and productive engagement. And to Christine and the group that has a Harmonized Development Partners Group. Mr. President is concerned with the exit of US aid. What happens to initiatives, previous resources? So, Mr. President, you accepting to chair, and then to say to all of you a warm welcome to who. I look forward to a purposeful deliberation where we'll provide Mr. President with a blueprint of a roadmap. President Mohammed's unique and primary concern is just one. How can Ghana produce competitive
Minister Haruna Idris Empire, thank you very much for your welcome remarks. I will now call on Professor George Odro, Speaker. Professor George Odro.
The protocols. Speaker, forming education for a sustainable, inclusive, Sairam Agbenyaga education. He is countries. That will take us a thesis. Professor Joseph.
Your Excellencies, so that we can go straight to, have to cut it very short. I left the show as development and self-transformation because I felt there is something that is missing in me to transform myself before you can transform education. Having been in Australia, there wasn't a single, all the Australia, there are so many things, but I would snakes in the classroom. When I went into Australia, I have to relearn how to teach. Because if you don't know how... So on one of the routine teaching experiences in a year 9 classroom, it was time for me to... and cold-blooded animals. The snake man is coming. So they opened to the core. It was really frozen. But the children that I'm supposed to teach, they were very happy, excited. They picked the snake and put it around their neck as a chain. And they were describing the feeling, the emotional feeling, the physical feeling that they get from the snake. But me as the teacher, I haven't had that feeling because of fear and terror. This is what is happening in many of our school systems, our young children, and for that matter, our describe critical thinkers for sustainable development. That educational transformation is not exclusively a reform, because reform, you touch on infrastructure, and that doesn't lead to any sustainable development or sustainable future. But a combination of reform and transformation is what leads to future or futures of a country. So what is transformation? What makes it so important in any educational endeavor? The culture of individual form existing, as are already afraid, it cannot happen. We will see that transforming education for sustainable future can happen in Ghana. What I see, students often, while children in Ghana learning adjusted years, student well-being is another problem of some countries for answers, and also look within us to direct our path towards Australian education system strong, to have ideological purpose for education. All the countries that we can make very strong is ideological future. Australia has well-defined teacher career progressions. And this career progression for teachers is not based on age or the length of time you spend in the profession, and what development projects or finish training as a teacher. Then you continue teacher to become a lead and very ability, you will find your pathway. If our education halfway through with our problem of a competency on, and recently I was in United Arab Emirates, and in this competency framework there are 4 core pillars. Is championing ethics, so ethical and accountable educator. Then the second pillar in that framework is effective professional. The third one is future cultivator. And the final one is community collaborator. So education in the country, because they are trying to move away from for futures that are curious from education for and different a future that has not yet appeared. So that is the agenda why we are here, to conceptually can perform it into being. Aims to empower people to tackle action towards a more sustainable future. And core components of this include knowledge, skills, values, attitudes, and behavior related to sustainable development. Knowledge, there is no way we can transform education for sustainable future. So knowledge of the interconnected place in the world. So what is the Ghanaian's place in the world? Is the Ghanaian place in the world to copy or to be corrupt, or to say that we can't do it? So the only option for us is to run away from our problems. The second one is values. Without a strong values, we cannot transform education. The focus of values is on ethics, ethics of care, attitudes and behaviors that cultivate sense of responsibility, respect, care for the well-being of the ecosystem, civic engagement, risk intelligence, which we'll come back to soon. So let me take you beyond this, and then I will conclude. So this situation call for future-scaping, that is, transforming education system for future-proofing. All right, so future-scaping describe imagining futures shaped by our past and present experiences, and future-scaping, the past is dialectically related to children to come. Future-scaping education for sustainable future is a transformative, multi-dimensional act which is dynamic, cultural, social goods. Now back to future-proofing education. Future-proofing is anticipating future shock. Defines future-proofing as stress testing exercise or proposed strategies and policies. Let me give you an example. For example, we have 10 million future-proof system where the future-proof system where the affluent will pay level will pay some future-proof education for. Without this, the system will crash. If you model it and double the student numbers, because in the Ghanaian society, because of the way our attitude is, sometimes it is free. So this is an opportunity to give a lot of children a responsibility. Every citizen is a partner to education, not only government. Now, because of time, I am jumping that we can touch on. Okay, for transforming the Ghanaian education system future-oriented. We must recognize individual motivation, but in the future becomes a performative process that powerfully shapes the present and the future. I wanted to give you attitude and to tell us to attitudinal change in the workplace. At least 6 other planes, the flight number, flight 801, make the aircraft was warning. So a junior cannot speak instead of collaborating, and then so they have to re-educate. They send them to a re-education camp to retrain them, to develop new attitude, camp to retrain them, to develop new attitude and new mind. If we can change attitude, do away with all the attitude that I was taught, because as I started my speech, we cane, we teach, and then we use the cane. But in another system, they don't use the cane, but children are learning and producing more skills. So attitudinal change of this pilot, when they were retrained, since then, they had a very, very good record of flying. I am sure many of our school system, thank you, have attitude. So partnership, we must take research seriously. We have to also move citizens, all Ghanaian citizens, embrace all Ghanaian benefit themselves with the minister later on. In closing, we must dare to dream. We must dare to dream big for
Rest of presentations, and this is from Professor Kwame Achampong, who has put forward his flight a couple of times just to be here to speak for a brief presentation.
Don Dramani Mahama, Togbe Afede, Ministers of State, President Mahama, one wondered why this theme was chosen. Is that the National Democratic as a party and a government, and so I want whilst we leave to include this. Improving the lives of every Ghanaian child has to be based on equitable access to quality education at all levels, and implies that we prioritize the educational needs of the most marginal and on earth and enhance development, poor and disadvantaged worlds. As we think can use the limited resources to develops and leaves most of its people behind. Any development has done that. Reflects to status to high income. This is very important for us to high income. This is very important for us to take into account. We cannot speak of educational progress if that progress widens the learning achievement gap between those who. And that is why I'm pleased that this is a theme of this meeting. It is imperative that we prioritize marginalized groups and areas of our country that need significant more investment. Whatever we do to improve quality of education at all levels, we must ask ourselves, who is it benefiting and who is losing out? And I think this is important. The talent pool we have has to be widened. And if we have to widen the talent pool, we have to include many of our children who are who are not receiving quality education. The fourth United Nations Sustainable Development Goals calls for inclusive, equitable, and quality education. This is a call to prioritize poor, marginalized children and youth, those who are out of school or at the bottom of the learning pyramid. We are confronted with a fundamental question. How can we promote greater inclusion and improve learning quality as part of our commitment to SDG 4? I also suggest that we do rather those at the bottom. In our deliberations and consultation, we should think of incentive structures and cost-effective practices that would ensure that the schools serving disadvantaged districts receive a fair share of good quality teachers, as South Korea did. One of the things that is remarkable about South Korea is that they ensure that to improve education, irrespective of where you are, you get a good share of good quality education. Any incentive structure that we can put in, I think, is something we should focus on. Because of time constraints, I want to skip a few points, but there's something that we cannot ignore, and I think it has been mentioned by the other speakers. We have a financing challenge. The resources we have for education are infinite. So we have to find a way of utilizing this to the best of our advantage. Let me turn our attention to the challenge that confronts us, which is at the heart of the topic of this keynote. Ghana's education resources, according to several analyses, are disproportionately allocated to secondary and tertiary levels. Currently, about 1/4 of government education spending goes to pre-primary and primary schools. And at primary level, Ghana's spending per student as a percentage of per capita GDP is just over half the average of aspirational peers. Ghana spends more but we are faced with this. How do we continue with the free SHS policy whilst ensuring that it is pro-poor, financially sustainable, and gives us value for money in terms of productive skills for work and further training? Let me share just 3 brief points from an excellent thesis that one of my students has just produced. When I asked her to look at the free HSS, Second, free SHS principle of equitable access to teaching and learning materials. Okay? These are important. You cannot talk about access. The result is that experiences and outcomes of free HSS are also inequitable, raising questions about whether we are achieving the returns to the huge investments that as a nation we make to fund free SHS. The point is this: if free SHS is increasing access that does not maximize the benefits for marginalized and disadvantaged groups, then the return to investment is limited at both perspectives. Approach the concluding sections of my presentation. I want to make a couple of quick observations. I hope that we critically examine all sectors of our education system so that it will allow us to understand clearly where we can improve access to disadvantaged groups. Forum is taking evidence very seriously. We should, however, not implement free SHS in a way which education reforms in Ghana in the 90s and 80s have shown that improving access to poor quality basic education would not yield the private and social returns to investments. His Excellency, we should not be afraid to confront the issue. And I am pleased that we have a consultative process that will bring minds to think about this issue and to guide your government. As our first speaker said, do not provide free for everything, even for rich countries. We should not be apologetic. We should be pragmatic. What is it that can work for Ghana? Keeping in mind that example, if you have 5 children in your house, and then you decide that you are going to spend 80% of your income on the first one, I'm sure there will be a fight in the house. It's exactly what we do. We are spending a lot of our resources for the advantage and leaving this government strategy. Has accumulated a wealth of knowledge and experiences from years of since our independence. If you look, every 5 years, we have a new idea. I mean, whether this time we make education work for our development. Although access to all levels of education has improved, we cannot say the same for access to quality of education. We have a responsibility in our learning materials. We still have pupils to textbook ratios which do not meet these norms. Evidence of what works. We cannot do anything that shows that we are different and will succeed. We should learn from what to the forum. First, we have to anchor our recommendation in evidence. I hope, Honorable Minister of Education, the recommendations that will come from this are very important. Successful school systems ground changes in the classroom. Okay? If you want change, it has to happen in the classroom. Focusing first and foremost on teachers and the context in which they work. We must also use technology. This point has been made. Secondly, we have to build a durable. We want to encourage your government and your minister to be very clear and unapologetic about the priorities that you've chosen, because it is what will determine how successful this forum is. We should make sure that as we look at the implementation, we are also checking to see whether we are on track. And then fourthly, whether we are on track. And then fourthly, we should adapt. We should drive and adapt with data. I think resources available for education. We need a medium to long term for education. We need a medium to long term planning framework. I am pleased that for our development. On March 5th, 1957, Ghana's first president, and outlined his government, recall that, got President Nkrumah as one of those call for us to what Nkrumah. We have a problem. We cannot build a good quality secondary education with a weak foundation. It is very important. Let us not, because whatever we do, we cannot find jobs, we cannot do anything. And then, second and third, it was to be used to harness His Excellency. You have called us to address this challenge, and you have made education the pinnacle of your effort. In all the countries that have made good progress, education has been given the high prioritization of education. President John Mahama has initiated all for the prosperity of our country. May God bless us all. Thank you very much.
For challenging our thoughts on all the sectors. The Honorable Minister of Education is supported here by his Deputy Designate, Honorable Clement Apak. Shall we put our hands together? He's also here to support us. We're grateful to you. Honorable Seth Tekpe, thank you so much for all the massive support you are giving to His Excellency. And now, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, set us on a plane to bring all the creative ideas to truly reform our educational sector. Come here to the stage. The Honorable round of applause, Honorable James Gunu.
President and the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, distinguished invited guests, I want to, on behalf of regional capital, Ho, the occasion, even as have decided to bring this program, this particular event falls or cuts across my 3-point agenda for the region, dear, and our school because of war in some part of this region. And I had to go and end my middle school living certificate and security is key for is building their core mandate, inclusion. His Excellency John Dramani, and we are visionary leader. You too much. I want to humbly invite His Excellency, the President of the Republic, John Dramani.
Happy that I had the opportunity. Then I'm sure that let me express stakeholders of the for delayed invitation to this forum. Still deserve an unqualified apology for this oversight. And since you are the purveyors of God's mercy on earth, I'm sure that you are forgiving us. Thank you very much. And we know you are important stakeholders because and that is education. From individually and collectively express our various views can be put. In the years preceding my to giving Ghanaian children committed to ensuring that all who are considering the policies and I stand with purpose of the commitments and necessary reform is the bedrock upon which the future of our country. Education must remain a tool for empowerment, equality, and transformation in Ghana. It is also an important you're born in Accra or the most raised with the needs of the system. Because it is this realization that has brought us together here today, united in our belief that education reform is just not an option, but a necessity. Ladies and gentlemen, the National Consultative Forum on Education, parents, traditional members of civil society, that any journey that requires all voices, all perspectives, and all hands on deck. This consultative process, I believe, will bring out to diagnose the challenges, the non-partisan interrogation of issues, and a renewed sense of urgency. The moment to act together is here and now. And we must use this forum to answer quality education, tools and resources, prepare our students for further pedagogies, inclusive engagement for learning, which are central to our teachers' classroom practice. How do we develop an assessment system that promotes critical thinking, problem solving, and not just against mutually agreed performance standards? How do we remove excessive political interference in the governance of our education system? I said that the second Independence Day for the education system has come. You can express your opinions freely now. How do we ensure adequate and sustainable financing for education? How do we achieve innovative infrastructure provision at optimal cost? How do we provide our students with the technical and vocational skills to be able to enter the world of work? How do we create focus questions? It's a big question that transformed them with uncompromising, with the 21st century skill, extend a well-grounded cultural literacy as the foundational issue, develops his heart, his critical thinking and creativity necessary for productive decision making. The heart promotes moral, emotional, and social orientation, respect, while the hand develops in learners skills and practical competencies necessary for building and strengthening our service and products that, and I quote, true education means more than just the pursuit of a certain course of study. It means more than a preparation of study. It means more than a preparation for the life that now is. It has to do with the whole being and with the whole period of existence possible to man. It means it refers to lifelong learning. It refers to lifelong learning in this world and answers to the questions above and others that will inform the discourses of this forum. It must be our collective responsibility to make recommendations that are far-reaching, that are transformative, and necessary for developing the global Ghanaian. The global Ghanaian. This is a call to action for every stakeholder here today. In terms on the decision we make and the actions Sir Champon have come all the way. Sir Champon have come all the way. As a government, are not going to gather dust on a shelf. They will not become symbolic, equitable, and transforms proposed here. Symbolic, equitable, and transforms proposed here with clear timelines and measurable build trust and transparency. With a focus on build trust and transparency. With a focus on the 4 literacies. Education and capacity development. They announced that PTA and capacity development. They announced that PTAs can engage with schools. PTAs can engage with schools to ensure that management of the schools through the practice, the National School Leaders Standard, that we shall work with stakeholders, include school leaders standard, that we shall work with stakeholders, including the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools and other teachers' union to develop assisted secondary schools and other teachers' union to develop. To prioritize work we started in 2014 under the TTEL work we started in 2014 under the TTEL system includes some vision and education system where decisions today and tomorrow over consultative forum on education officially open. I urge each of you to approach this task with objectivity, courage, creativity, and an unwavering commitment and relentless in our patience and prepares our nation for the challenges. And let us seize this moment and work together to create one resolution at a time, one transformation at a time. Ghana will win in developing this country's young people for service. On this occasion, duly launched. May God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make our nation great and strong. I thank you.
Seats. Thank you. We're live on MOE TV, on GTV, and on Join News. And Mr. President, thank you for making time to.
You've assured us. Thank you. And thank you. And Agbanyegan experiences from Korea. We are very grateful for all of that. Professor Champon also emphasized. To us the need to give access to that that we face, among others, lack of resources or inadequacy of resources, and also should refer some very the need to be
as an entrepreneur, in our culture, and by we say thank you to them. We will adhere to this norm and this value greatly this afternoon. And it's on that note that I'd like to welcome up here with great respect Professor Goski Alabi to symbolically thank all of us for being a part of this opening ceremony. Shall we welcome her with a big round of applause?
Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, His Royal Highness Togbe Afedi IV Academics, Partner Education, ladies and gentlemen, friends of the media. On behalf of the visioneer and organizers of the National Education Forum and all gathered here, I stand before you with immense humility and gratitude. Firstly, to His Excellency the President, we extend time on your very busy and also for your reaffirmed vision for a sustainable and transformative future, for your commitment to your promise. Ms. Togbe, I fed it with grace. We are grateful for your stewardship and unwavering support. To our esteemed keynote sharing your and for shared groups, your words have set the stage for critical discussions in the days ahead and to shape the agenda ahead. To the Honorable Minister of Education, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, continues to evolve to meet presenters and panelists. Your contributions have helped shape the partners, a faith-based organization, in bringing this event to life. We recognize Ghana. A special thank to the organizers, the Secretariat, the Ministry of Education in particular, the Volta Serene Hotel staff, and everyone working behind the scenes. And finally, success without you. Shared vision on and for responsible member that may the good ideas generated from here lead to real transformative change in Ghana's education. Thank you all, and may God bless us all as we have a productive and successful forum.
We're very grateful to you, Prof. Shall we do a big round of applause for her? By 6 members of Parliament.
Right. Thank you very much, His Excellency. Thank you very much, and all other protocols observed. Thank you very much, and all other protocols observed. From here.